Welcome back to the Reading Roundtable. I'm real excited to be here. I love getting the authors of articles to come and talk. I think that's the coolest part because you get to hear actually what happened inside the author's mind. I think it's a really unique perspective. Back with Dave Peloff, who has spoken to us before, and he's taught this class before. He's a guru of all that is games. And he wrote this wonderful article about playing the villain, a reflection on the value of different character perspectives and simulation-based technologies. This is on the School of Education's website. And I have to say, I love The Last of Us. It was just, if students haven't had a chance to play it, it's a PS4 game. I think the new one's also on PS5, Last of Us 2. Just mind-blowingly interesting game. And Dave, can you just take us back to 2013 when you first played it, and what was your initial reaction to that game? What got you going?
Well, so I love the company that created the game is called Naughty Dog, and they've done some other games I really like. The Uncharted series. That was the first game that came with my PS3, I remember. So I really loved that game, and it was a totally different level in terms of graphics and voice acting. They actually sounded like professional actors. The good dialogue, great. The visuals were incredible in the Uncharted games. So I was excited to look to see the Last of Us. I'm a sucker for the zombie genre.
Yes, of course.
So, you don't feel so guilty with the violence when it comes to you're fighting zombies.
Right.
So I was really excited to play it, but it exceeded my expectations, in large part because of the story. The story was much, much richer than I expected. It had the same level of graphic quality and acting quality. The characters were really well drawn, but there was just a different level of depth in the story and the characters, the way they were drawn. And when that happens, the game just takes on totally different meaning. At least it does for me. It's no longer just about getting from point A to point B, or killing zombies from here to here. It's you actually start caring about these characters that you're playing, and it gives you a completely different motivation. Uncharted, it was kind of like a Raiders of the Lost Ark, Indiana Jones type. You like him, he's a swashbuckling hero, but you don't really get the sense of who that person is. In The Last of Us, they go deep. They go deep into character development. So it was really unique, and I don't think any other games have really done it to the level that The Last of Us 1 and 2 have.
And so for those who've been played it before, really it's kind of the story of Joel, our kind of grizzled older hero who's normally would be featured in these kinds of games. Is in the shooting games, he carries the guns, he blows things up and shoots people, but he's accompanied by Ellie, who's a 13-year-old girl. And one of the things that's interesting that they unpack in this is that if you're not a parent, is all of a sudden is that Joel's not a parent. Well, he was at the beginning, but I'm not going to give that part of the story away. But what happens is that he creates this bond with this young girl, and this parental bond it's not there initially, but he gets there, and the story unpacks that. It takes us into that, and we feel this empathy for this little girl and this need to protect her that we may not normally have felt if they didn't do the story, right?
Yeah, absolutely. No, I felt the same way. You do care about both of these characters. They give you some backstory, as you said, that makes them even more sympathetic characters. But yeah, the motivation to try to help them get through this nightmarish world is definitely increased.
Yeah. So in the game, there's this perspective switch. And that's one of the things that's interesting about that. And talk to us about how that perspective switch between Ellie and Joel.
Yeah. So at some point in the game, and I want to, for those who play it, I don't want to give away too much, but suddenly you become Ellie, the young girl, as the player. That's the perspective you have. So you started with playing kind of this traditional macho hero, And then all of a sudden you're a 11 or 13-year-old girl, I can't remember, in the first game. But that was interesting on a number of levels, because it happened during a time that there was a lot of controversy in the gaming world about intolerance, social intolerance, and particularly against female gamers. If you ever Google Gamergate, there's a whole story about a whole cycle of news stories that are kind of disturbing to read.
Yes.
Well, I think
Yes.
this company, Naughty Dog, decided to take that on directly. And you know, in the Bogus article, they talk about designed constraints. So many games are about making choices, but then other games are about, no, you don't have a choice. This is who you are. And they put you in her shoes, and you have to live and fight and survive as this young girl. And she doesn't have the same strength as her, you know, male adult companion. She doesn't have the same weapons or the same speed, but she has other characteristics, you know, that you know, work to her advantage. So just being that kind of, all of a sudden you have new empathy for this young girl who's out there essentially alone trying to survive, which adds a whole nother level of drama. But also, you know, it forces you to see the world through the male players through a different gender, which wasn't very common at the time. But also, you know, different age. A lot of gamers were older, much older than Ellie. So I thought that was a really interesting twist.